Coming up on tonight's UAP News Show, Lue Elizondo's imminent book announcement, Karl Nells' shocking SALT statement, meeting on the Hill, what did the DOE have to say about UAPs, Tim Burchett's new transparency bill, Terrence Howard spills the reality on Joe Rogan, and a meteor seen streaking across the sky. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. I am riding solo tonight, so let's just dive right in and get straight into it. First up, Lue Elizondo's imminent book announcement. The long-awaited book by Lue Elizondo has finally been announced and is available for pre-order. On X, Lue said, "It is my honor and my duty to share this information with you now. My book, Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, will be published by William Morrow in August 2024. Imminent is my call to action. The stakes could not be higher. This is an accurate portrayal of events as they happened. This book underwent a 9-month U.S. government scrutiny review, and I had a senior member of ATIP review the manuscript to ensure everything is exact and authentic. This is more than, quote, my story, it is, quote, our story. And I wrote it for you, the public, so that there is no question as to what we are dealing with and what the future might bring. After reading it, I think it will be clear why this topic is so incredibly important. You can pre-order it now and sign up for emails to stay in the loop at," and then he puts the link for his website. And then just for kicks, let's go over to the Amazon book description and see what that says. It reads, "The former head of the Pentagon program responsible for the investigation of UFOs, now known as Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP, reveals long-hidden truths with profound implications for not only national security, but our understanding of the universe." Lue Elizondo is a former senior intelligence official and special agent who was recruited into a strange and highly sensitive U.S. government program to investigate UAP incursions into sensitive military installations and airspace. To accomplish his mission, Elizondo had to rely on decades of experience gained working some of America's most sensitive and classified programs. Even then, he was not prepared for what he would learn and the truth about the government's long shadowy involvement in UAP investigations and the lengths officials would take to keep them a secret. The stakes could not be higher. Imminent is a first-hand, revelatory account inside the Pentagon's most closely guarded secret and a call to action to confront humanity's greatest existential question. And, not to flex or anything, but here's what a pre-order confirmation looks like when you do order that book. Can't wait to get our copy. So yes, this book has been long anticipated. Many people have been talking about it recently, especially with the recent threats to Lue's life. You know, that was the most recent thing that we talked about with Lue Elizondo, but this book is long time coming and it's finally here. Super stoked to get our book in the mail and can't wait for all you guys to get yours as well. If you would like to get your own copy of Lue's highly anticipated book, Imminent, make sure to check out the video description box below where you'll find the link to order yours now. Up next, Karl Nells' shocking SALT statement. This week, a video from the SALT conference was released featuring Colonel Karl Nells, who made some very bold statements. He talks about the existence of NHI, the government's plan for disclosure, and the ultimate implications the phenomena poses for humanity. A tweet from UAP James says, "Retired U.S. Army Colonel Karl Nells discusses government disclosure of UAP. Quote, non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. There are unelected people in the government that are aware of that. Zero doubt." End quote. So to hear that for yourselves, let's check out a video of the highlights from that conversation next.
And so, Karl, here's the million-dollar question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
Right. So non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
And so, Karl, that is quite a bold statement. I'm wondering, and I'm curious, how confident are you that that is true?
There's zero doubt. How can the folks in the audience come to the, a common understanding of what this phenomenon is? And so there's sort of two tracks here. One is from first principles, and another is actually from the data. So let's take a look at the data. So we can look at some folks that have very high level access to information, like Paul Hellyer, who was the defense chief for Canada, has come out and said the same thing. We can look at Ham Eshed, the head of Israel's, or the former head of Israel's Space Force, has said the same thing. Chris Mellon, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Intel, SAPCO, has essentially said the same thing. Lue Elizondo has said the same thing. David Grush has said the same thing. David Grush cleared for presidentially level material. So you're looking at people that are in a position to know this, and they're telling you the same thing. You could take a look at the Gang of Eight in the Senate and in Congress. So there's two members of the Gang of Eight, Marco Rubio and Senator Chuck Schumer, that signed up to the UAP disclosure amendment last year that basically said they're not being told the truth and we need to push forward on that. So that's sort of an overview of some of the data. From a first principles standpoint, what's so unusual about this realization? There's billions of stars in the galaxy. Life here evolved in 500 million years, which is basically a blink of an eye. We've found planets around every star that we've looked at. It's likely that the universe is full of life.
Karl, I mean, what you're saying is extremely consequential, and you've referenced other people that have said the same thing that also have similar credibility. There's similar reasons for why we should believe many of these folks, yet the government itself has not formally disclosed. They've been very reluctant to do that. Why? Why do you think that is?
So there's 6 basic reasons, and this, again, you could draw this out from first principles. There's a national security reason. There's the lack of a plan. There's the potential for societal disruption. There's the possibility that there's some non-public agreement. There's the potential for misdeeds and the desire to cover up misdeeds. And there's just the basic organizational intransigence and lack of priority that might be associated with the topic.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you have absolute conviction that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet, that there are factions within our own government that know about this, yet we still don't have a plan, and they may represent a security issue. This may pose a threat to humans, yet you still believe that we should disclose. Is that right?
Correct, right. So there's really 3 reasons that trump all those others. And those others are basically valid, like I said. So the first issue is the moral right. The government exists for and by the people. And so the nature of reality is fundamentally not government information. People have a right to know the world in which we live, and the pursuit of happiness requires that knowledge. As a corollary to that, if there are misdeeds that were done, then they need to be remediated. If there's lack of proper oversight, which is suggested by some of the whistleblowers, that needs to be remediated. Anybody paying attention realizes the government has already indicated that unidentified anomalous phenomena are real, they're not ours, and they're not our adversaries. The Pentagon has said that. Like, for people that are paying attention, like, that shoe already dropped.
Are you implying that perhaps we as a society may not be ready for disclosure?
For people that believe in a certain faith tradition, whatever that faith tradition is, and hold to that and subscribe to that in a very serious and devout way, if you're confronted with the reality of your religious belief system, like the reality of the metaphysical, an angel, a messenger from God, what have you, that's going to be a sea-state change in your way of dealing with reality, right? Even though you already believe it, right? So it's one thing to believe and it's another to know. And I think in this context, this phenomena has the potential for an analogous effect both on the individual and on society.
Yeah, but do you think that the phenomena, this non-human form of intelligence, represents a threat to humanity?
It's the economics of the future that are going to determine whether there's cooperation, competition, or some kind of symbiosis, and inform the intention. But to assume either malintent or complete altruism, I think, is somewhat naive.
In order to really understand the phenomena, it's likely that we have to further our understanding of reality itself. And I guess I'm wondering, I can imagine a future where we acknowledge and we know that there is a higher form of non-human intelligence, yet we still don't truly understand the phenomena. We still don't truly understand reality. And so I guess I'm wondering, do you think that we'll ever truly understand what's going on? Or if part of the game, part of the journey, part of life itself is operating in an environment where at least part of it is fundamentally unknowable to us?
I guess personally, I subscribe to the idea that there is an ultimate truth, and that humanity, being created in the image of a higher power, is endowed with the quality to pursue an understanding of that. And so our part of our objective in this existence is to seek that out and try to understand that ultimate truth to a greater and greater degree. And this would be a component of that, obviously.
Yeah.
So in that video, he mentions UAP disclosure supporters like Chris Mellon, Lue Elizondo, and David Grush, who you're probably already familiar with. Then he also mentions the Gang of Eight, specifically Mark Rubio and Senator Chuck Schumer, who have been supporting this in Congress. But he also references two other names that you may not be so familiar with. The former head of Israel's military space program and retired Israeli General Haim Eshed, and former Canadian Minister of National Defense and longtime member of Canadian Parliament, Paul Hellyer. Both of these guys have made previous statements about UFOs and the existence of NHI, and have made statements about the alleged Galactic Federation. In case you're not familiar with these guys or the stuff that they've said in the past, here's a quick clip to get you caught up.
After 30 years at the helm of the Israeli space security program, and after receiving 3 Israeli security awards, retired Israeli general and respected professor Haim Eshed is now unveiling that yes, there are aliens among us, yes, Israel has made contact with them, and no, humanity is not ready for them. Also, before you start doubting his words, the 87-year-old Eshed was clear in his recent interview with the Yediot Ahronot News that he's not talking about immigration, but rather about a galactic federation complete with an underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives apparently present. He also explains that President Trump both knows about them and was on the verge of disclosing their existence, only to be persuaded not to by the Federation, in order to avoid mass hysteria and panic here on Earth. Apparently, humanity just still has a long way to grow before we can understand the gravity of their presence. The final question, however, is what do they want? But perhaps thankfully for us, Eshed says that it's essentially just to research and understand the fabric of the universe.
I phoned my nephew and said, give me the general's telephone number and give him a heads up that I'll be calling. Because I thought I should check with him personally and hear his voice and what he had to say. And I had met him, so I knew who it was. And so I phoned him, and before I could even say, hello, how are you, what's the weather like, he said, every word is true and more. Those were his opening words. And he spent 20 minutes telling me the and more, within the limit of his oath. I guess it went as far as he could. And he said, and this was the most important thing he said during that period, was that there have been face-to-face meetings between United States officials and visitors from other star systems, period. No equivocation. And so with that assurance, and my own conviction based on what I already knew, I said, I'll go to the meeting. And at the meeting, I said that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. And that was it. And
it's been reported in a couple interviews that you've mentioned there's a federation of alien species. Do all of the alien species kind of work together, or is there warring species that war with each other? Well, I only know about the Galactic Federation, and I don't know much about it, so I shouldn't talk about it. But they are concerned about what's going on in the world, and they have been working through individuals. They'll pick out a few individuals and visit them or talk to them telepathically, or send information to them by channeling. I have a very close friend who was writing a second book right now with channeling from a species called the Basidas. Very few people have heard of it. They have a deal that they won't interfere. But I think that there's also a loophole if things get bad enough that they would make exceptions. But we can't count on them. I mean, maybe we can count on them, but we shouldn't count on them, because
They say, you clean up your act. You're in charge. It's your planet. And if it comes to a dead end, it will be because you let it or made it a dead end. Because it wasn't necessary, and you had everything going. It's one of the best planets in the whole universe. And everybody covets the fact that it's so good, and you have been destroying it. And this is something that we've tried to let you know by various ways over a long period. The individual communications always say, look, there are things you've got to do. Stop your clear cutting, stop your fracking, stop using fossil fuels, because there are better ways.
Wow, so that's a lot to take in, right? I mean, what do you guys think about Karl Nells' statements? Do you also have zero doubt that non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity for this whole entire time? What do you think of what Chaim Eshed and Paul Hellyer had to say? Let us know in the comments section below. Next on the docket, meeting on the Hill. What did the DOE have to say about UAPs? This week, Congress met with the Department of Energy during a U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability hearing in which Secretary Jennifer Granholm answered questions regarding UAP and nuclear facilities and the procedures to handle and investigate such events. But apparently, she didn't go to this meeting willingly, as seen in this tweet from Tim Burchett. Tim says, "It's ridiculous we had to threaten her with a subpoena to get her to appear before Congress. We're going to conduct an oversight over this administration's failed leadership, whether they like it or not. But it works better when they cooperate." Dang, so it looks like she didn't really want to go to that meeting and only showed up because she had to. No wonder why she looked so sour-faced when she was answering those questions. But in addition to that, we have weaponized host Jeremy Corbell, who tweeted this: "UFOs on the Hill today. Here is a clip from the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability hearing. Representative Luna and Representative Tim Burchett asked UAP-related questions to Secretary Jennifer Granholm, representing the Department of Energy. The last question by Rep. Luter was a banger. Why do you think she asked it? The DOE has long been said to have a significant hand in the recovery and reverse engineering of UFOs. Specifically, JSOC, or Joint Special Operations Command, has been implicated in conducting retrieval missions of UAP. The convergence of credible whistleblower testimony, historical proposals for reverse engineering programs, and the operational capabilities of JSOC strongly suggest that they play a significant role in these secretive activities. Great job of our reps today. Go, go, UFO." So let's check out that embedded video now.
The committee concluded that in the 19 years since the first UFO was sighted, there has been no evidence that unidentified flying objects are a threat to our national security.
Chair, now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee.
I was going to follow up with the numerous reports by the Federal Protective Services officers describing suspicious occurrences of UAPs over nuclear facilities.
Oh, let me just say, the Defense Department has said there is no evidence of UFOs, et cetera, or aliens in the United States. However, at those sites, there may be drones that may be nefarious. And so we are definitely looking at that and making sure that our national security sites are protected. We have a whole program related to countering drones that may be coming from
well, this isn't about drones, and this is prior to drones even. What protocols does the Department of Energy have for reporting and responding to any UAP sightings near nuclear infrastructure? Appreciate you answering that, if there are any protocols.
Well, certainly there are protocols whenever we see anything unusual around our nuclear sites or our national security sites writ large.
Chair recognizes Ms. Luna from Florida.
Secretary Granholm, earlier when Representative Burchett asked you about some UAP stuff, you said that the DoD essentially had denied any existence of that, and you referred to them as drones, correct?
It's my understanding that the Department of Defense has looked at this and issued a report about it.
I have a lot of questions, so just quick and concise if possible. There have been persistent claims and reports, including those from credible whistleblowers to this committee, suggesting that the U.S. government, potentially including the Department of Energy, has been involved in reverse engineering technologies recovered from UAP. For example, the Pentagon's proposed Kona Blue program aimed at reverse engineering such technologies, although it was ultimately not established. Can you clarify whether the Department of Energy has been involved in any such efforts or, either historically or currently, to analyze reverse engineering materials from related to UAPs?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay, there are several reports indicated frequent drone incursions over DOE nuclear facilities, including an incident on April 1st, 2021 at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, also known as LLNL. Can you detail the DOE's current security measures to prevent unauthorized drone activities or UAPs, and what steps are being taken to enhance these measures of frequencies of incidences?
Yeah, we have a whole counter drone effort to make sure that all of our national security sites and our labs are protected from incursions from drones, I'll just say, that are not authorized. So there's a whole series of protocols, probably not ripe for discussion in this public setting.
Correct. So I reviewed some unclassified materials from around the 40s and 50s, and so they weren't just being reported as drones back then, and I encourage you to look over those materials because I think that you guys should be upgrading that program to cover down on UAPs. There have been documented sightings of metallic spheres over DOE facilities, if you want to call them drones in this instance, such as one report on April 30th, 2019 over LLNL. What investigations have been conducted in regards to these sightings, and what conclusions do you guys have about the nature and origins of these objects?
I'm happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, we'll be submitting also too for public record some questions after this, if you could please answer those. Considering the DOE's involvement in nuclear and sensitive research facilities, how does the DOE coordinate with agencies like the Department of Defense and AARO to investigate UAP sightings?
We obviously are teamed with the Department of Defense because of our national security and nuclear mission.
Are you able to cite any specific investigations or shared data analysis efforts?
I don't have information on that.
Okay. As of right now, again, we'll be submitting some questions for you after this, but I hope that you guys can answer those in a timely fashion. And again, for those that might be tuning into this, I would encourage you to look at some of those unclassified materials, and we'll be happy to provide your office with that. I'll just follow up by one other question, I guess, to close it out. Does the DOE currently work with JSOC in order to handle security measures?
We work with all of the security entities around the federal government. We're part of an overall all-of-government effort on both cyber as well as national security.
Do you guys work with JSOC? Yes or no?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. I yield the rest of my time, Chairman.
So did you see that look on her face? I mean, you could tell she didn't really look happy to be there. And I got to give it to Rep. Luna for digging in and making sure she answered concisely and didn't elaborate too much, because she had lots of questions for her. So I thought that that was pretty funny. But I also was appreciative that Tim Burchett was there, because he too was making her try to stay on conversation talking about UAPs. Because did you guys notice that she kept referring to them as drones? Like, listen, lady, nobody's asking you about drones. We're asking you about UAPs. But I guess that's her way of like deflecting or staying on narrative for whatever she was told to say. But while we're speaking of Tim Burchett, that's not the only thing that he did this week. Tim Burchett also proposed a new transparency bill regarding UAPs. This week, News Nation posted a video called "Just Tell Us the Truth," Representative Tim Burchett on declassifying UFO reports, where he spoke about the new transparency bill that he filed and gave his opinion on how the government deals with the UAP topic.
Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee joins us live. He is the chair of the UAP caucus, member of the House Oversight Committee as well. Congressman Burchett, thanks for being back with us here on the Hill. Appreciate it. Tell us why you decided to do this. Why do you feel this is needed?
Well, I guess I'm the unelected chair. I think it's needed because you just showed the Tic Tac video taken by one of our very brave pilots. And I had one of those pilots not very long ago tell me one of these objects was 14 feet away from his canopy as he was flying. Yet our federal government, many departments tell us they don't exist, yet they're still being funded tens of millions of dollars. They issue redacted reports about UFOs. And our own Pentagon, who has not passed an audit in the history of audits, literally cannot account for over $500 billion. Now we're spending this money on something. We're $35 trillion in debt. We had every 100 days, we had another $1 trillion to our deficit. Look, it's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's what are we spending this dadgum money on? It's ridiculous.
What do you think?
Well, I think there's some members that know some things. I think that's a bunch of balloons right there. But the one prior, the Tic Tac video, if you could hear the the audio of the pilots who were chasing it, I think you would think something else. And we have too many reports from too many qualified people, former admirals telling me something's under the water going 200 miles an hour, big as a football field. You know, it's too much. Just tell us what it is. We don't care. You know, it's not going to upset my religious beliefs. I'm still going to believe Jesus died on the cross for me. It's not going to change one bit. All it's going to say is this universe is a lot bigger than we give it credit for. We're one grain of sand on a million beaches. Give us the information. Let us decide.
I don't know about you guys, but I really, really, really appreciate Tim Burchett and the fact that he does not give up on this subject. He wants to know what's going on. He knows that the government is lying. He knows that they're spending money on a bunch of stuff that they don't want to talk about. So good for him for not letting this go. I mean, you could tell that this man is dedicated to finding out the truth, and I am definitely here to back him up, and I hope you guys are as well. If you would like to check out that video or any of the other things featured in this show, please make sure to check out the video description box below, where you can find all of those links in the order that they appear. Next, actor Terrence Howard, known for his role in movies such as Iron Man and shows such as Empire, recently went on Joe Rogan and had a lengthy discussion about science, space, and consciousness, and lots more. Given that he does research in the fields of logic and engineering, he had a lot to say, and everybody's really talking about it. According to him, our current understanding of physics and reality itself is wrong, and he's discovered the truth. Let's check out what I consider to be the highlights of that conversation now. I hope you guys appreciated that video clip. That was a 3-hour conversation on Joe Rogan's channel, so there was definitely a lot more to it. If you want to check that out, please make sure to go to the video description box below where you can find that link, or just search for it on YouTube, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, so what do you think about what he had to say? I mean, I was really appreciative that he was talking about, you know, the connectedness of all living things, and I was appreciative that he was talking about consciousness, and I'm just honestly really curious to see what you guys have to say, because I already know what I think, but what do you think? What's your opinion on what Terrence had to say? Where do you think consciousness comes from? What do you think about the morphic resonance and the 100th monkey effect? What were your thoughts on his comparison between chlorophyll and hemoglobin? Let us know in the comment section below. And last but not least, meteors seen streaking across the sky. A tweet from Colin Rugg says, "Just in, meteors spotted in the skies over Spain and Portugal. This is insane. Early reports claim that the blue flash could be seen darting through the night sky for hundreds of kilometers. At the moment, it has not been confirmed if it hit the Earth's surface. However, some reports say it may have fallen near the town of Castro, and I don't know how to say that. Other reports say it was closer to Pinheiro." I think it's so cool that people just like randomly and unintentionally caught this celestial event on camera. And if you ask me, I think the footage looks like something straight out of an epic movie scene. It's definitely a sight to see. So let's check that out now.
What do I mean by reality?
Wasn't that awesome? Can you imagine just like unsuspectedly hanging out with your friends outside and you just so happen to witness this event and catch it on video? Like seriously, if you think about it statistically, like what are the chances of that actually happening? It's pretty slim. I would think that the numbers are pretty low, but let us know what you think in the comment section below. And that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and while you're here, do us a favor, smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. Much love, peace, and namaste.